How's it going, Banger fans? Welcome back to Overkill Reviews, your weekly metal review show, and I'm your host, Sam Astroth. Stoked to bring you my first review of the year after surviving a car accident, having COVID in my home, and being under lockdown, and somehow surviving all of it by the grace of metal. Please do me a big favor and join our Patreon, as well as subscribing to our YouTube, and help us keep bringing you endless content. This week, I'm reviewing one of the top symphonic metal bands from Norway named SIRENIA. That right there is Addiction Number 1, the leading single from the 10th studio album from SIRENIA's latest album, Riddles, Ruins, and Their Revelations, out February 12th today via Napalm Records. SIRENIA originally started off in Stavanger, Norway back in 2001. This is their 10th studio album and the third consecutive album with French singer Emmanuelle Zolden. What you may not know is that she's actually been in all 10 albums for the band, singing choirs in the studio. Another cool fact you may not know is the band leader, harsh vocalist, and multi-instrumentalist Morten Veland used to be one of the founding and original members in gothic symphonic metal band Tristania before leaving and forming his own band SIRENIA. Morten himself wrote and recorded all the instruments in this album, as well as mixing and mastering everything. Talk about a one-man show. The band's lyrics usually deal with human existence, emotions, and mental states. As you saw, the lead single primarily pointing out the negative effects affecting our society, this is bound to be a good one, so let's get right into it. The band's strong points are definitely in their desire to push their sounds into new territories this far into their career. The album definitely has a lot of character and sounds that are established within the band's core discography, while still trying to push the boundaries wherever they can. Also, the lyrics are sometimes a key selling point for some of the more simpler songs on the album, like you heard in the single Addiction Number 1, which talks about negative effects of drugs in our society, as well as songs like Downward Spiral, which point out mental health issues. Some of the heavier riffs on the album actually kind of remind me of like an Amon Amarth-esque melodic death metal feel, so some of the heavier songs actually hit quite hard. Which brings me to the second single, We Came to Ruins, which is a standout single and I would personally say is one of the album's highlights. In different places, circle around as I am lowered into the ground. Heavy, the guttural vocals hit head on, and this song gives a much needed call to the earlier days of SIRENIA. Somewhat of a surprise to me was some of the heavier songs, like Beneath the Midnight Sun, has a good mix of harsh and clean vocals, as well as a welcoming industrial / electronic synthy vibe, which kind of give this album a modern facelift, you could say. Songs like Into Infinity and Passing Seasons also have some of these electronic elements with some Nightwish-esque choruses mixed in. The album's standout feature to me are its leads and guitar work. The solos on every song are worth paying attention to. The leads are well crafted. Finally, the album closes out with Desireless's 1986 hit Voyage Voyage, which is pretty darn cool, I must say. With all that said though, let's get into the band. The band has shifted some of their sounds from older gothic sounds to newer symphonic sounds with mixing in electronic stuff, which may throw off some older fans of the bands, or, you know, if you're a fan of the band for a long time now, you may be like, what are they doing? But you know, it is what it is. The band also cited being influenced by bands like Beyond the Black and Amaranth. You know, as successful and awesome as those bands are, I personally feel like SIRENIA's history is way more longer running and richer than those bands. It was kind of unnecessary, you could say, to have not drawn influences, but push them as influences, because I feel like their history is much richer. Also, after carefully listening to all the songs, some of the orchestra and the lead work, especially during some of the choruses, to me kind of clash with the overall songwriting. Now, this may not bother you and you may appreciate the extra bit of work, but to me it kind of sounded like a bit of a muddy listen at times. Judgment! I think this is a pretty good continuation from their last two efforts with Emmanuel as their lead singer, and they seem to be going into the symphonic direction, which seems to be working out for them. However, as I said earlier, the structures and orchestration kind of clashing with certain things probably could have been paid a little more attention to make it a bit more of a clear, concise listen. Therefore, after listening to the album countless times and Googling the band's name, I'm giving this album 3 sea cow skulls out of 5. You know what? This is my first review of the year, so I'll throw in another half-eaten sea cow in there. So 3.5 sea cow skulls out of 5 here on Overkill Reviews. Shout out! My favorite section. For my first pick, I'm picking Korn's lead guitarist Head's own project, Love and Death, releasing their second studio album titled Perfectly Preserved, out today via Earache Records. Korn was my first live concert, and I love Head's songwriting, and the last album was super catchy, so I cannot wait to get into this one. Next up is Japanese visual rock band Band-Maid, releasing their newest album titled Unseen World, which actually came out last month, January 13th, via JP Records. These girls bring a ton of hard rock energy, all dressed up in what do you call a epic maid outfit, which is kind of a Japanese fashion, and they may just surprise you. Third, I got British rap metal sensation Scarlxrd with his 12th studio albums in 5 years. 12 albums in what, 5 years? How does this guy do this? Titled DXXM II. Also released today via his own independent Lord Records. Scarlxrd mixes hip-hop with nu metal influences with insanely high octane vocal delivery and may just blow your speakers out if you play it too loud. Next on the list, I got Pretty Reckless with their 4th studio album, Death by Rock and Roll, which is out today via Fearless Records. Taylor Momsen's acting and singing skills just keep on getting better, and man, does she have some pipes on her. This album also features some heavy hitters like Rage Against the Machine as well as Soundgarden. Last but not least is Miami, Florida technical death metal outfit Abiotic with their beastly new offering titled Ikigai, meaning the reason for being. It's a Japanese word. It's out today via the Artisan Era. This album also has Shanae Crabbe from Entheos. She's badass. The contortionist vocalist Jonathan Carpenter, as well as Trevor Strand from the Black Dahlia Murder. So definitely check this one out. So Banger fans, what did you think of the latest SIRENIA album? Leave me a comment below and let me know. And also make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all of our upcoming releases. Until next time, ciao. In different places.